I wanted to address a comment that was left on one of my videos yesterday. And I want to talk about, should we be compassionate to mutts? Now, this person touched on a brief digression in that video where I talked about how dogs should be punished in front of other dogs to teach them not to attack us or attack our youth, to attack humans. And I also pointed out how euthanasia is worthless, that it is not like punishment in the way that prisons are for humans. So I'm going to quote this person here, and I encourage dog behaviorists, veterinarians who are dog lovers, who disagree, to openly disagree, like this person, right? As long as it's respectful, well thought out, you have valid points, I will respond. Anyway, this person says, I wanted to address your point about humane euthanasia because it's a poor argument that can serve as low-hanging fruit for dog people to use to dismiss your entire position. And since the facts are on our side, we should be diligent about keeping our arguments strong. Now, I won't deal with this paragraph about how, euthanizing dogs is not a punishment, because that was not my argument, right? Nor was I trying to argue that the people who came up with the idea of euthanizing dogs intended for it to serve as punishment. No. But in this paragraph, this person says euthanasia was meant as a principle decision. This dog is very dangerous, so let's completely prevent the possibility that it could harm anyone else. And this is exactly my point. That does not work. What's the point in doing that? How does it help? Because we euthanize one dangerous dog, I put dangerous in quotations because they're all dangerous. We euthanize one knowing that it is being replaced by another, right? That other is simply a puppy at the moment. It does no good to euthanize dangerous dogs and allow them to be bred at the same time. We know it's only a matter of time before a number of them attacks people. This is why I believe extermination is the only solution. Euthanasia is simply a waste of resources and a waste of valuable time and energy. This person says, continuing with their comment, as for the method humane refers to humans behaving compassionately. We generally view causing unnecessary pain in a negative light, and to treat a living being in the same way that a violent dog treats a living being is to abandon human ethics and lower ourselves to the same level as that dog. End quote. But here's the thing. Many people would co-sign with a human being being tortured as punishment for torturing an elderly person or a toddler, for abusing a toddler. Even most people who say that they would not co-sign with criminals who have abused or tortured their child being tortured might change their mind in the moment if it actually happened. In fact, as I talked about in a previous video, many people in the medical field argue that people who are executed through lethal injection actually die a painful death. But because they are paralyzed, they cannot communicate their pain or even react physically to the pain. I also cited in that video a doctor who said that if we euthanize humans the same way we do dogs, it would increase the chances of the human dying a pain-free death. The idea is, if you're being executed as a human, then you obviously did something that was so bad that you deserve to feel pain before death. Right? But when it comes to dogs, all of a sudden we talk about being humane, even though many of us, without even thinking about it, would co-sign with a criminal being tortured who had tortured and or abused our child. Now you may object to that only if that person's execution had nothing to do with you. Right? But if they abused or tortured you or your child, you may not care. So in terms of justice, many people still co-sign with an eye for an eye, but only when it involves humans. So in life and in death, dogs are given better treatment than humans. I don't get it. Dogs know, as I've talked about before, what children are. They know what babies are. They know that children and babies are harmless. That is exactly why they target them. But when the dog is put to sleep for mauling them, we insist that the dog didn't know any better. I don't buy that. A dog inside a room with a child or baby and another dog walks in, nobody can convince me that that dog can't tell the difference between that other dog and the baby, between that other dog and the child. They know what kids are, they know what babies are, and they know that they are not dogs. Right? They know that they are human, just like their owners. So whether or not people believe it's unethical or not, all opinion, but based on principle, if you torture others, especially the helpless, and in return you get tortured, that is karma. Dog or human. But if I were given the power, say if this government decided to exterminate dogs and they asked me to decide on how to exterminate them, I wouldn't care. Personally, I wouldn't care if they put them to sleep or used blow torches. Nobody cares about bears that suffer in bear traps, animals that are hunted and take a while to die. Nobody cares about the rats and mice get caught in traps, and they suffer for a half hour or hour until they die. They're animals as well. So I would not see any reason to become passionate when dealing with mutts. If police officers were to use blowtorches and it took dogs several minutes to die, I'm not the person who's going to step in and say, hey, this ain't right. Let's show some compassion and ethics. Right? Now, me personally, if I were given the job, I would dispose of them quickly. Not out of compassion or ethics, but because the sound dogs make, right? They're screaming, yowling. It annoys me, right? I mean, just get it over with because they are irritating. Nothing to do with compassion. I absolutely don't give a damn about mutts. Another thing is, humans have this beautiful gift of being able to morph our mentalities into whatever we need to be in order to deal with the challenge we're faced with. In certain situations, there is absolutely no room for compassion. In war, soldiers are taught to be ruthless animals. The slightest show of compassion or weakness could cost you the battle, could cost you the war. I believe Hannibal's failure in Rome was a good example. In war or even combat, when you're faced with a ruthless opponent, you have to be more ruthless. If you are compassionate, it will express itself in your performance and you will be destroyed. You need that mental edge, a certain mentality to carry out certain tasks. But the beautiful thing about humans is we have the ability to morph, to turn it on and turn it off once the task is complete. So I'm not worried about the loss of ethics or the acquisition of primitive mentalities. Our ability to acquire different mentalities to conquer certain threats is a quality, in my opinion, speaks to the superiority of the human species in general. Now I'm going to continue with this person's comment. It says, as for being an example to other dogs, this is anthropomorphism. They are not capable of thinking this way or understanding such a message. Dogs typically don't seem very concerned for other dogs' well-being when they see something happen to them anyway. For example, in the famous Husky attacks poodle clip from that daycare, despite having just witnessed a violent murder of one of their own kind, the other white dogs only seem to want to know what the dying dog smells like. And when the attendant rushes in, they only seem interested in him. They don't seem unhappy, and they don't try to comfort the victim dog, end quote. Now this is 100% true. My suggestion that dogs should be made an example of in front of other dogs to teach those dogs not to attack humans was inaccurate. I don't know why it didn't dawn on me when I said it. In fact, it is worse than this person described. I noticed it long ago. I was actually going to make a video about it long ago. Right? When you watch videos of dogs being slaughtered in these slaughterhouses, they are totally numb to the slaughtering of other dogs. Dogs only become submissive when they themselves are receiving punishment. And they are only submissive to the punisher. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. Dogs would not get the message by witnessing other dogs being punished. Right? I don't care, even if you brought out the victim, the mauled child, and you stood the child a few feet from the dog that mauled him and had all the other dogs witness. Right? You point at the child and then you punish the dog. Nothing you do will work. At that moment, when I said that in that video, I gave dogs more credit, far more credit for their intelligence than I should have. They are far too dumb to be taught like that. I think I sort of got caught in between the fact that you can make a dog more submissive and understand not to do something when you yourself are disciplining the dog. Right? But that does not work in the way I described. You can't do that. They are too dumb. In those slaughterhouses, a dog can get its head bashed in with a bat. Other dogs can watch it happen and they'll just look away as if nothing happened. Right? I saw one dog get stabbed by a butcher, and the dog next to it was only interested in drinking its blood. That's the type of creatures dogs are. Right? Another dog is killed right in front of it. It just wants to lick its blood. It reminds me of that verse in the Bible where, where it's talking about how dogs lick up the blood of the dead, or something like that. So ethics and compassion for dogs might sound good to some, but when you have the memory of your child screaming in pain, bloody and torn apart by a mutt, if that same dog is subjected to pain, I would not care. In fact, to be honest, it would feel like justice. Even though that stupid mutt has no understanding of punishment, I would not urge the executors to relieve it. I would not preach a sermon to them. Hey, this is not right. This is immoral. They're like, good. Now you see how it feels. Mutt, taste of your own medicine. Any parent who would feel compassion for a mutt that just mauled their child, I would look at them sideways. In my opinion, any amount of compassion opens the door for their continued existence in our society, and it opens the door for the continued mauling on our youth, the continued terrorism of our society in general. View the name of my channel, I Hate Dogs, with the word hate in bold caps.